Elsha Threefold Master is the best Jeskai Aura commander, and I don't think it's close. Now some folks might say that Jeskai is not close to the optimal color combination for this playstyle, and to those folks I say, you're right. But that is exactly the beauty of the format. Elsha is a 3-mana 1/1 with trample and prowess. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, you create that many 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. Deal 5 damage with Elsha, make 5 tokens. The auras come into play because prowess triggers whenever you cast a non-creature spell, while providing ways to boost damage, ways to avoid blockers, and ways to keep your commander safe. I've got 2 deck lists for you in the description where these are tagged as beats, sneaks, and keeps. But before getting too deep into those categories, let's talk deck fundamentals. The card advantage largely falls into one of 2 buckets, with the first being auras that draw you cards when the enchanted creature deals combat damage. Combat Research, Curiosity, Curious Obsession, Staggering Insight, the backside of Mischievous Catgeist, Cat-like Curiosity, and Take Flight. Mischievous Catgeist is one of a few disturb spells in the deck. You can cast the front half of the card like normal and the second half from your graveyard for that disturb cost. Most importantly, this card is adorable. It's all tangled up in that Yarngeist. Also important is that despite the cost being on the high end, it'll always be a card at your disposal while it's in the bin. Take Flight is even more expensive but gives flying, +1 power, and doesn't need to connect to draw you that card, instead triggering on attack. The second card advantage bucket is your classic Enchantress style of card draw. Mesa Enchantress, Entity Tracker, 4 Spirit Dancer, Tram Senior Edificer, Armory Paladin, and Pearl Ear Imperial Advisor. Armory Paladin was a quieter release in the Fallout set that exiles the top card of your library, letting you play it until the end of your next turn. Pearl Ear draws you those cards with the final ability, but doubles as a ramp spell. And ramp is where this deck gets freaky. It's all creatures, enchantments, and lands, which means no Soul Ring, no Arcane Signet, and so on. Asterisk. I realize that artifacts also trigger prowess, but we're already operating out of the box here, so I'm full sending. Transcendent Envoy, Starfield Mystic, Inquisitive Glimmer, and Hero of Iroas likewise have cost reduction mechanisms attached to auras or enchantments. Sticky Fingers, Shiny Impetus, and Prosperous Partnership round out the package. The first 2 make you treasure, which is a delight, but the partnership, oh how prosperous. At instant speed, you can tap 3 untapped creatures you control to create a treasure token, which is bombastic after you connect with your commander Elsha. Remember, 9 damage with Elsha equals 9 tokens straight away, turns into 3 treasures for the next turn. But enough about this love affair, it's time to eat your beats. Bravado and Idolize are my favorite pieces of tech for this commander. Bravado gives the enchanted creature +1/+1 for each other creature you control, while Idolized does the same for all non-land permanents you control, but this time only when attacking alone, and you better be attacking. Right behind them as favorites are Mob Mentality and Betrothed of Fire. Mob Mentality puts all the monk tokens you make to work by giving the enchanted creature +X power, where X is the number of attacking creatures, if all the creatures you control attack. It doesn't jive the best with Idolized, but provides another way to turbo pump Elsha's power. Betrothed of Fire again puts those monk tokens to work, this time by letting you sacrifice an untapped creature to give the enchanted creature +2 power until the end of the turn. And you can do this with no other cost and as many times as you have creatures to sacrifice. This spell can knock players out of the game through commander damage, and the best part is that all that damage gets reconverted into more monk tokens for the next go around. Then there are the enchantment rewarders like Ethereal Armor and All That Glitters on the cheaper end of the spectrum. Sage's Reverie doubles as a fat card draw spell. Auramancer's Guise looks sick and gives a big +2/+2 for each aura, and Vigilance. Mantle of the Ancients is a reset button if your commander is dealt with. And the inspiration for the build from the Jeskai Striker Precon, Tempest Technique, is in the building. The 4-mana enchantment has that +1/+1 buff per enchantment, attached to Storm, meaning you copy the spell when it's cast for each spell cast before it in the current turn. Blessing of the Nephilim gives your commander +3/+3 for a single white, and Steel of the Godhead is a beater. It grants both halves of the bonus as your commander is in both of the colors, but the standout is that unblockable word for being blue. And speaking of unblockable, let's talk about sneaks. It's true that Elsha can get really big and trample over your opponent's creatures to start building out your Monk E board state. But to maximize those tokens and keep her out of harm's way, I want to avoid being blocked whenever possible. In addition to Steel of the Godhead, Aqueous Form, Aether Tunnel, Security Bypass, and Spirit Mantle are auras that get the job done. Spirit Mantle is especially powerful, keeping Elsha safe from Ravenous Chupacabra type effects as well. Escape Tunnel and Rogue's Passage are a couple of lands that can help out. Rogue's Passage is straightforward, but if you crack Escape Tunnel while Elsha's power is 2 or less, the effect remains even if her power exceeds that total in the future. The other form of evasion is by taking flight. See what I did there? Fey Flight, Shimmering Winds, and Spectral Flight are the other options in the category, each with their own brand of upside. Fey Flight has Flash and provides hexproof for a turn. Wings can be returned to your hand, and Spectral has a nice stat boost. It's almost time to transition to keeps on account of introducing that Flash hexproof aura, but there is one final sneaks card, Bestial Fury. Now that is a monkey. On its face, it seems more like a beatdown spell with the +4 power when blocked, but the way I see it, it disincentivizes blocking altogether, and it's a monkey. In a build where your commander is the game plan, you need to be prepared for your opponents solving that puzzle by removing said commander. That's where keeps comes in. Fey Flight grants hexproof for a turn at instant speed, as does Shard Mage's Rescue. Eel Umbra grants that Umbra armor with flash, while Timely Ward goes the distance, providing full indestructible status with flash. Benevolent Blessing offers long-term protection from a color at instant speed, and fortunately doesn't mess up all the gear you already had attached to the enchanted creature. But with that said, if you name white, that Timely Ward in your hand is no longer kosher. And the last instant speed variant is Sejiri's Shelter, a one-time color protection effect that also plays as a tapped white source of mana on the flip side. It's time for me to come clean about that asterisk from before. I led you to believe that the entire deck was creatures, enchantments, and lands, and in some ways that is true, if you count all the modal cards as lands, which I do. So back off. Hyena Umbra is that single white or Umbra armor. Sheltered by Ghosts grants Ward 2 and then a bunch more stuff. Curator's Ward gives hexproof. Flicker Form gives no stats, but grants your commander and all of the auras attached to it a get out of jail free card for 2 and 2 white. And Gift of Immortality functions precisely as marketed. If the enchanted creature dies, it returns to the battlefield. And if it sticks around to the next end step, Gift of Immortality comes back as well, attached to that creature. I know. Powerful stuff. Also powerful to varying degrees is the interaction package. The highlight is the bane of commanders everywhere, Darksteel Mutation. In a similar vein, there is Witness Protection, Eaten by Piranhas, Planar Disruption, and Amphibian Downpour. Storm cards are good, what can I say? But seriously, if you happen to have Entity Tracker on the battlefield, when you cast the Downpour, you draw a card for the original and every copy that enters. I know, powerful stuff. There's also this set of auras that blow up artifacts and enchantments when dealing combat damage. Flamespeaker's Will, Mortal Obstinacy, and Latula's Orders can be sacrificed to do so when the enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player. 3 modal lands also serve an interactive purpose. Specimen can divert an instant or sorcery to itself, while Sundering Eruption and Suppression Ray clear the way for Elsha to lay a beatdown. Believe it or not, I haven't haven't touched on everything and don't plan to, but I want to call out a few more cards that I find endearing. Surgical Suite can bring your 3-mana commander or draw engine back from the graveyard, right to the battlefield. And the room even gets the unlock discount from Inquisitive Glimmer. Now that's a little thing I like to call synergy. Mark of Fury is a haste enabler for a single red, which I like on its own, but I love that it returns to your hand at the end of every turn. That's a reliable prowess trigger every turn that'll also draw you a card if you've run out one of those draw engines. This is also the case for the flying spell Shimmering Wings that I introduced earlier, except that one can be repeated so long as you have blue mana available. Squeeze Embrace provides a decent stat line and will save you from the commander tax if Elsha is destroyed. And for all you thirsty guys and gals out there, I offer you Fish Liver Oil as refreshment. It's not in the deck, but deep diving into all the Jeskai auras opened my eyes to all sorts of cards I ain't never seen before. And before this gets too off the rails, I need you to subscribe to the channel because more deck techs and budget upgrades will be coming your way. The deck list for this $55 Elsha build is in the description, as well as a non-budget version that's tuned up. But for now, stand back in awe of Elsha's aura.